As we continue on with the scouting report series on every single New York Rangers prospect, next up we have forward prospect Berard. Now this guy is a very interesting prospect. He's not the biggest guy at 5'9", doesn't weigh the most, somewhere around like 170 kind of pounds. Maybe added a bit more muscle since then, but I think overall is a really interesting prospect. He was taken in the 5th round back in the 2020 draft. At the time was one of the youngest players in that 2020 draft as well, so interesting there. He's a September 9th birthday, so he turns 21 in September. And this is a winger prospect, mainly a left winger, left-handed shot. Small dude, obviously, like I said, but he himself has said he kind of models his game after a guy like Brad Marchand. This is his exact quote. As an undersized guy, I'm trying to play like, 5'9", 181-pound Boston Bruins forward Brad Marchand. He doesn't take anything from anyone, no matter how big they are, and he's great offensively. So that is literally the exact words from what he said. So I think it's kind of interesting to see that he does model his game after Brad Marchand. Obviously, if you watch him play, and I watched him a ton of the World Juniors and stuff, he definitely does have some aspects for sure of Brad Marchand. I don't think he has obviously that kind of upside at the offensively, but I think his overall game definitely seems quite similar to a Brad Marchand. It's just I don't think he's going to be that point per game plus kind of guy. I don't think he's going to be near that, but maybe he can be a 50, 60 point guy. That's probably about his ceiling if everything goes perfect. But I do think he does kind of have somewhat of a decent ceiling like that. Probably a third line, maybe second liner, really, if everything goes good. But I think he could definitely be a really solid third liner. Something around 40 points. I could definitely see him 35, 40 points on that third line. Being a good forward-checking kind of guy is definitely a pretty realistic kind of outcome for him. I don't think it's definitely not guaranteed he makes the NHL. Being a 5'9" guy, there's definitely nowhere near a guarantee, but I do think he has the upside to be a decent middle six winger. And I'm not going to think he's going to say he's anything close to an actual Brad Marchand offensively, but I think his overall game definitely resembles that. He's an amazing forward checker. He's that energy bug out there. He's flying around. He's hitting everyone. He's getting in the corners. He's scrapping in the corners. He's doing all the puck battles. He's everywhere the puck is, and that's something good to see, as well as his buzz and his effort level and work ethic. It just seems like it's off the charts. He's always buzzing around there, and if you watch, go back and watch some of those World Junior games and stuff, especially at Providence College where he's been the past couple of years, I think he's really shown that he can be maybe at worst a really solid third liner if he can make it to the NHL, obviously. But I think he still got a really good pro career. I just think that his ceiling isn't the highest. It's like I said, it's not going to be a point per game kind of guy. I definitely don't see that. But if everything goes perfect, maybe he can be that 50, maybe 60, if everything goes good. But I do think that he has a relatively high ceiling, but probably a middle six kind of guy at best. But I do think that his game translates decently to the NHL just because of the energy he brings, the forward-checking capabilities. Maybe he could be a second line kind of penalty kill this guy as well. It's definitely possible. But I think his overall game is nice. He won a U20 gold medal with Team USA as well, so that's pretty cool. But at 5'9", he doesn't have the best ceiling. His shot's decent, his passing's decent. He's nothing spectacular, but I think his overall offensive game is quite solid. Definitely, he's not dangling through everyone, but has decent hands, good skating, that's for sure. Definitely not bad skating at all. This past year at Providence College, though, had a big drop in offensive production, and that is kind of worrying a bit. I definitely wasn't too happy to see that. Obviously, he wasn't going to have maybe as good of a season. He had a great year back in 2021 and 2022, but the fact that he had such a big drop-off in points, had the exact same amount of games played in 2021 and 2022 compared to this past year, both having 36 games played, but this year had 10 goals, 14 assists for 24 points, and the previous year had 18 goals and 20 assists and 38 points. So he had the same amount of games played this year compared to the previous year, but had 14 less points, 8 less goals, 6 less assists. I think that is very worrying, and that's kind of why I don't know if that ceiling is quite there. Obviously, I'm not saying that is going to ruin his career and he's never going to make the NHL because he had 14 less points at the college level, but I do think that is something to take a look at, and maybe his ceiling has kind of fallen off a bit, but I still think he can definitely be a third liner, probably something like that is definitely a realistic kind of option eventually, maybe, if he can definitely work on some stuff. But also this year had 3 games at pro hockey level, 3 games with the Hartford Wolfpack, no points with a +1, so decent there, not bad. The previous year as well, like I said, back in 2021 and 2022, had 5 games played there, 1 goal with Team USA, and then the previous year after that, back in 2020, 2021, had 7 games played there when they won gold, had 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. Not bad. Like, definitely did solid there. Won the gold medal that year as well, like I said, with a +8. And was that kind of energizer money, just kind of buzzing around up there, forechecking, hitting, scrapping. Did actually get kicked out of a game, had a slew foot there incident as well, kind of a dirty play, but that's going to happen sometimes, I guess. Unfortunate, but he's definitely he can be that kind of rat sometimes, like Brad Marchand. That's kind of why he compares himself to Brad Marchand. I think his game does compare to Brad Marchand, just the offensive upside is not there. I definitely do not see him being a 100-point guy or anything close to that, but like I said, 50, something around there is definitely probably the ceiling points-wise, maybe 60 if everything went insane, but I think 50, 30, 40, something around there, being a second, third line kind of winger is his ceiling. Probably more of a third liner, but I do think that his game is pretty decent overall, and definitely he has that buzz, he has that energy, and he has that work ethic to make the NHL one day. It's just whether or not he can put everything together, because at 5'9", yeah, it's not the easiest to make the NHL. Obviously, there's a lot of small guys who are making it now, a lot of not huge, strong guys. I mean, we've seen Jack Hughes have almost 100-point season, and he's definitely not the strongest guy in the world, right? So that is something to take note of as well, but I do think that his offensive game is obviously nowhere near Jack Hughes, for example, so there is that as well. And same thing with Brad Marchand. His offensive game is not there. But I think overall, this game is pretty nice for a third liner kind of guy who can be that rat, piss you off, draw some penalties, maybe take a couple here and there as well. But overall, play a solid defensive game. He's not like the great lockdown winger, but I think his game is good enough to where maybe one day he can be a second PK kind of guy, be that energizer, really good forecheck, and that is something to take note as well. Is his forecheck is amazing. He's got pretty solid, good quick hands, like decent, stick handling and stuff. Good skater. The size and strength definitely needs to get better. I mean, obviously not going to grow, but he's hopefully can get a bit stronger. Keep adding more muscle. Keep the speed up. Keep the skating up. Good agility. All that kind of stuff. His hockey IQ is decent, not insane, I wouldn't say, but I think overall he's relatively decent in that department. His shot definitely needs to get a bit harder, get a bit stronger there, more power, but overall, he's got a decent passing, decent shot. It just needs to work on some stuff, get that offensive game a bit better, maybe get a little bit, work on some stuff offensively. But I think overall, like I said, he's definitely a decent forward, and he can one day be a middle six winger in the NHL one day. It's just going to be tough for him, being 5'9", not being the strongest dude yet. Hopefully he can add some more muscle and stuff. And I think he's going to be minimum 2 more years before we actually see him in the NHL. I think it's going to be a full year this year in Hartford and probably another one after that. So we're probably just looking at, maybe 2025, 2026 before we actually see him in the NHL. I think it's going to take him a few years, at least like 2 full years probably of pro hockey before we really see him actually take that next step. But maybe he does eventually, maybe he doesn't. We'll have to wait and see. But for a 5th rounder, it definitely seems like an absolute steal. Most projections had him in that 3rd round kind of range, maybe 4th round at the latest, but getting him in the 5th round is quite nice. It's just, can he make take the next step after a couple years of pro hockey? We'll have to wait and see, but I'm excited to see what he can do this year. I'm guessing he'll probably be on the 3rd line this year. Hartford's going to be pretty good this year, having a ton of new prospects like Othman. Will Cooley's a returning guy. He should have another great year. We could see a top line of Will Cooley and Othman, and that's going to be a whole other video to talk about there, but I am excited to see all the prospects that we do see in Hartford this year. I'm definitely going to have to watch a lot more Hartford games this year because there's going to be so many great prospects to watch. And Hartford should have a pretty good team this year. Hopefully guys like Will Cooley and them can take a big step forward. And hopefully we can see a guy like Berard and get a bit of PK2 time here and there with Hartford and maybe, get some decent ice time there and see what he can do. But overall, I definitely think his game is pretty decent. I do like watching him as well. His energy, his work ethic, his forecheck is fantastic and really great to watch. He's just going to need to get a bit more stronger and stuff, but overall, his game is definitely pretty nice. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, please smash the like button and definitely comment down below your guys' thoughts on what do you think the ceiling of Brett Berard is. Do you think he'd be a 2nd liner, 3rd liner? What are your guys' thoughts? Thanks for watching, and see ya.